to get on to you right as we start. Okay. On this problem, if we start looking at it, it does not have a common or opposite coefficient on either one of the variables. And so what we have to do on this one is decide which variable we want to get rid of. And we looked at this a little bit yesterday. And from there, determine what we got to multiply by to get that. So which variable do you want to choose to get rid of? Which variable do we want to try to get rid of? Which one do we want to try to eliminate? The m or the n? Those are the variables. N. It's the first one I heard. So what we have is 4 and we have 6. I need those to be the same number. Okay, I want them to be negative, but I want them to be the same number. So the easiest way to do that is to multiply the top equation by the 6 and the bottom equation by the 4. Okay? And so I'm going to write that out here to the side. We're going to multiply the top equation by the 6 and the bottom equation by the 4. Now, since I do want them to be opposites, I'm going to make the second one negative. So the 4 is going to be negative. Yeah, we did this one of these problems yesterday. And so what we end up doing is now we distribute, we multiply the 6 times everything in the top equation. So 6 times 3m is 18m. 6 times 4n is 24n. And then 6 times negative 13 is negative 78. Okay, we'll do the same thing with the negative 4. Negative 4 times 5m is negative 20m. Negative 4 times negative 6n is negative 24n. And then negative 4 times negative 19 is a positive 76. Okay, so at this point, all I did was I got my n's to be opposites. One was positive 24n, and one of them was negative 24n.
It's wrong.
What's wrong?
What I do, subtract all that or add?
You'll end up adding, but because of that makes you end up subtracting on like the first one, because it's a negative 20. Okay. So at this point, when you combine your two equations, and you combine your like terms, you do whatever sign's there. So in this case, 18m minus 20m is negative 2m.
Yeah.
The 24n and the negative 24n cancel out, becomes 0. And so there, I'll have to put that up there. And the negative 78 plus 76 is a negative 2. And then to solve for m, I divide both sides by that negative 2 and I get 1. So m equals 1.
What you do, negative 7 minus 76?
Say it again.
What you do?
Negative 78 minus 76? Actually, it's actually a plus 76. Sorry.
So if you wanted to do, like, if you wanted to find m first.
If I wanted to eliminate the m first, I would have multiplied the top row by 5 and the bottom by negative 3. Yeah. Yeah. So, y'all, this is officially a plus between, so it's 18m plus a negative 20m, 24n plus a negative 24n, and negative 78 plus 76. Okay? And for the math purposes, you do have calculators, so use them. Don't just kind of guess and get it wrong. Okay? Now that we know what m is, I would just plug the 1 back in, probably to the first equation. So 3 times 1 plus 4n equals negative 13. It doesn't matter which equation you choose. It just needs to be plugged in for the m. So you could have chosen the second equation and plugged in for the m here. Or you could have chosen one of these two equations in red and still used it. That just makes them a lot larger numbers. Okay? And so here we got 3 plus 4n equals negative 13. Hey, y'all, I'm having to talk over a couple people. I'd rather not do that. Okay, when I subtract the 3 to get the n by itself, I get 4n equals negative 16. Let me pause for just a second.
You sure got it while he's playing?
All right, last step, divide both sides by 4, and I get n equals negative 4.
Yeah, that's all you got caught. Don't get caught over Greeks. Like, hey, I don't get it. Ooh.
So many times I feel like I'm in like a 7th grade junior high class. All right, so what's my solution look like here? 1 negative 4. Okay, so there's the solution. So all this is to remind you of is if you do not have a coefficient that's the same, then you're going to have to multiply your equations by something. Sometimes you only have to multiply one of your equations, but if there's nothing in common like this one, you got to multiply both equations by something. All right. Do what? One that you would only have to multiply one of the equations would look something like this.
Oh, so it would have 2 different signs.
Well, no. This one, like if I multiply the bottom one by 3 or by negative 3, I would have opposites here. So I don't have to touch the top one. I would just have to multiply the bottom equation by the negative 3. Because that would give me my 3x and my negative 3x. This one, there was no number that... On this one, there was no number I could do that for. I had to do something to both. But on something like this, if I multiply that bottom one by negative 3, it becomes the opposite of that automatically. So I don't have to multiply the top one. At this point, the directions will tell you use elimination to solve, use substitution to solve. But in some of the problems we're about to deal with, in some of the problems we're about to deal with, it's going to tell you to choose which one. And the easiest kind to use substitution on are problems like this next one. So you ask the question, you stop listening for the answer. This kind is the kind that I would choose substitution on, where you've already got a variable by itself. But in the problems, they ask us to do these using elimination, so I want to show you how to do that real fast. Okay, yeah, here's the next kind of problem. Okay, this is a problem where I would choose to do substitution if I was given the option. But the problems in the assignment, they are telling you to use elimination to solve this. Just a sheet of paper. So since they're wanting us to do that as far as solving this system using elimination, we want to do that now. So. All right. And so the first thing you got to do, if you haven't talked about it yet, you haven't had any problems like this. When you need to do elimination, the x's or the variables need to be lined up. So the x's need to be in the right spot, the y's need to be in the right spot, and the whole numbers. And so in this case, I need to move the x over here so that it'll line up with this 3x. So I'm going to start out this problem by moving the x out to the front in that first equation. So I'm just going to rewrite that here as x plus y equals 4. So all I've done to that first equation is I rearranged it to where now my x's and my y's are lined up in both of the equations. So now on this, I have a common coefficient, the same coefficient, in front of the y's. They're both a 1. So I'm going to multiply that second equation by -1 so I have opposite coefficients. So this equation is still 3x plus y equals 6. And now the -1 times all of these is going to just change the sign. Hey, you just got here, G. Okay. Now if I got the opposite coefficients on the y, I'm going to add my two equations together. So 3x minus x is 2x. 6 minus 4 is 2. So that simply becomes x equals 1. And so this is kind of to show you that sometimes you got to move the variables around in the first problem to be able to solve this. Okay, so next step is to plug it back in. Okay, so I got 1 as x, so I'm going to go back up here to this problem. I'm going to say y equals 4 minus 1, so y equals 3. So my solution is 1, 3.
Oh my God.
So I plugged my x value, which was 1, back into that original equation. So y equals 4 minus x, y equals 4 minus 1.
He changed it so we could do the equation from the second one. Okay, no, you used the first one for plugging back in. Because the only way you can plug it back in is
Okay, so last type. What if you have something like this? Okay, which variables are opposites here? Both of them. Okay, so what happens if I add these two equations together? So officially I would have 0x plus 0y equals 9. Okay. And what is 0 times x? 0. What's 0 times y?
0.
What's 0 plus 0?
0.
So when I eliminate it, it becomes 0 equals 9. Okay? Is 0 ever equal to 9?
No.
No. So there is no solution. Now, if it would have eliminated this side also, if this 3 would have been a -6, and I end up with 0 equals 0, then that's a true statement, and so it'd be all real numbers.
Right.
Okay? So because they're just eliminating one side, it's no solution.
Right.
Okay, your assignment is the 9 through 26. Okay, this is not due until Thursday, so you have today during class and you have tomorrow in class. Okay, now, hey, real quick, this is on your agenda so you can look at it, but I want to show you a couple things. If you look at number 10, that little sign right here between the 3x and the y is a plus sign. The 2x and the 2y, there's a plus sign there. Between this -10 and 8y on number 25, there's a plus sign. On 24, there's a 4y plus 30. If there even looks like there's almost a vertical line, then that's a plus sign, so you want to make sure. The only other really confusing one, I think, these two right here, 18 and 19, those are equal signs before the last term. So equals 4y and equals -14. So if you have any questions about what the sign is, you need to make sure that you ask. And that will be what the rest of today is about.